Hi, read the recipe. Just like any other craft, you can make your experience with cooking more funner, less time consuming, and safe by using some simple best practices. Safer? More funner? Let's just roll with it. I'm not just talking basics. I'm talking pre-basics. Welcome to Cooking 99. In this video, I'll go over some simple cooking concepts based around preparation, organization, and safety. One of the goals of this course is to teach you how to make cooking worth your while. That is, less frustrating, time-consuming, and more consistently successful. These best practices are things that experienced cooks do as second nature because they know how much of a positive difference it makes, and amateur cooks avoid like the plague. It is, for some odd reason, human nature to not want to do these things because it seems like they take longer. And when you start out, that may be true, but I swear to you on all that is holy, if you keep practicing them, after the second or third try, you won't even notice yourself doing them anymore, and they will greatly improve your experience with cooking. You'll likely look back and think, why in Sam heck wasn't I doing that before? In that interest, I might seem a little yelly in this video, but it's for your own good. A little tough love. Overall, I'll cover preparation, cleanliness, and safety. Just like when you're cooking, let's start with prep. There are a couple of things that every good cook does before they start cooking. Preparation, or pre-paration, means before paration. Anyway, the before part is the important part. First off, RTDR. Read the darn recipe. Don't make me say it again. Okay, fine, I will. Read the darn recipe. Literally, sit down and read each step of the recipe. It'll take you 2 minutes, max, and it will save you 10 minutes. Min. If you've ever tried to cook without being familiar with the recipe first, you know how it can bite you right in the pants. There's always some step that says, now add the chopped onion. And then you're like, wait, what? I was supposed to chop the dang onion? You might use a different expletive there. And then you have to stop cooking, chop the dang onion, and meanwhile the minced garlic is burning because the pan doesn't just cool down as soon as you turn the stove off. Don't be that person. There's absolutely no need to be surprised by a step in the recipe. Take the 2 minutes before you start to read the recipe, including the ingredients section. A lot of the prep words are in there. Like it'll say a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. That's their way of telling you that the parsley needs to be chopped. After an experienced cook reads their darn recipe, they start their mise en place. Mise en place, sometimes abbreviated to mise, is loosely translated to everything in place. It means that you will have all of your ingredients prepared, that's cut and measured, and your tools ready before you start cooking. If you have a recipe that has a big gap in the middle to wait for something to bake or stew, just make sure you ready the ingredients needed for that first part before you start it, and then, during that bake or stew, you can do the rest of the ingredient prep. Reading the recipe and having mise en place takes a little bit more time up front, yeah, but it will be made up for down the line. Trust me, it's time well spent. Nothing can ruin a recipe quite like not having an ingredient ready when you need it. For example, my favorite movie is M. Night Shyamalan's epic sweeping Avatar: The Last Airbender. I have no idea why I trust you guys with my teleprompter. Kitchens can be generally dangerous places. There are plenty of things to burn or cut yourself on. They're small, sometimes crowded, and almost always hot and potentially slippery. So please think about that next time you see a kitchen crew. They work in a dangerous place and often for not enough money. Just like mise en place, safe practices actually start before any burner or oven is turned on. Did I say burner? When I worked at a bike shop, people would ask me almost every day for the safest streets to ride or the best helmet or reflectors to buy to keep them safe. And I would say the route and equipment are important, but the best thing that you can do to make sure you have a safe ride in the city is leave on time. Give yourself enough time to get to where you need to go so that you're not rushing. You're much more likely to make a dangerous mistake if you're in a hurry. And obviously, I'm going to say the same thing goes for cooking. Start on time and give yourself, or those you're cooking for, proper expectations of when you'll be done. When you're just starting out with cooking, give yourself an extra 15 minutes for an easy recipe or half hour for a harder recipe, because you don't yet have the knife skills or kitchen awareness for things to go as smoothly as they could. But in a month or two, things will go much more smoothly. That says smoothly twice. I mean, I still tack on an extra 15 minutes to any recipe time estimate. Those are incredibly inaccurate sometimes. It's basically someone's best guess. Being safe with a knife is pretty easy, but one thing that's counterintuitive, a sharp knife is safer to work with. A dull knife and a sharp knife will both cut you if the knife goes where you don't want it to, and that's the important part. A sharp knife is much less likely to slip or deflect, and much more likely to go where you want it to. This might go without saying, but practice your knife skills. There are plenty of good videos on YouTube teaching you knife skills. I've put the link to a few in the description below. But practice, practice, practice. Like if you're over at a friend's house and they're cooking, offer to help them prep. There are plenty of good opportunities to practice, you just have to look out for them. P.S. At no point in your lifetime should you cut towards yourself or your hand. And for that matter, don't cut towards anyone else's self or hand either. And remember, a falling blade has no handle. If you drop a knife, get out of the way. Don't try to catch it. As important as your own safety while you cook is the diner's safety while they eat. Be careful not to cross-contaminate your kitchen. This includes ingredients, tools and equipment, and your hands. If you're dealing with raw meat, especially pork and poultry, make sure you always clean anything that comes in contact with the meat before you use it for any other ingredient. On the subject of contamination, if you're cooking for other people, beware of their food allergies or diet restrictions and take them seriously. If only one person in the group has a diet restriction, it's okay to ask them to prepare one ingredient to swap out for whatever they can't or don't want to eat. It's not cool to ask them to bring a whole separate dish unless they offer to do so. If you're the kind of person that's up for a challenge, try to see these restrictions as an opportunity to prove your cooking prowess rather than as an annoyance. Clean while you work and do your dishes after. You don't want to have to clean the kitchen right before you start cooking. It'll deter you from cooking. I know it does for me. A couple of general tips. Don't point pot handles outward where someone could bump into it or catch their clothes on it. Arrange your pots and pans safely. Also, don't pick up a hot pan with a wet kitchen towel. The water will immediately conduct the heat straight through to your poor, sensitive hand. When I was talking to Kelly about this course, she gave me a piece of good advice to pass on to you. And it was that when you're learning a new dish, if it's a little bit complicated, use your weekend time to practice it until you get it down enough that you can do it quickly on a weeknight. None of your damn business, that's who Kelly is. One basic principle in cooking is that a lot of hard technique can be replaced with lots of time. So if you have a lot of time to cook something, say you're home from work or on a weekend, you can put something in the slow cooker at the beginning of the day and cook it throughout the day, and it will be amazing at the end, and it really doesn't take that much technique. So when you have extra time, use it.
Takeaways.
The key takeaways from this video are: 1. Read the darn recipe so that you're not surprised by anything while you're making the dish. 2. Mise en place. Prepare as many of your ingredients as you can before you start to cook or as the oven is preheating. 3. Give yourself enough time so that you're not rushing. Be safe and be deliberate with your movements in the kitchen. And 4. Use the downtime to clean as you go. You'll thank your past self after you're done. All right, read the recipe. Bye.
There are a couple of things. Scheiße.
This is a difference by
Adult.
Thanks for sticking around. I don't need you to subscribe or smash that like button, but I do want to answer any questions you have, so please stick them in the comments section. We'll respond to as many as we can. We also plan on doing a Q&A at some point, so if a question gets brought up enough, we'll also stick the answer in that video. Please comment away.